Hi, and welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Eric, joined once again by
Bevan, hey.
from Australia, my buddy down there.
Yeah.
We're doing some Dallas season
This is what I
three.
like about it.
Well, this is like I think season 9. This happens, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, um, season 3, episodes 11 to 15. Tommy, roll the credits, and we'll get right into it. All right, episode 11 is the heiress. Um, These next 5 episodes were interesting because I feel like Ray was hardly on. He's like
yeah.
in like, and I now I see why like they made him what we learn soon, enough,
Mm.
because he's like hardly on. So he's probably that's why I probably wanted to leave. Like, I could get another job where I like work more.
Yeah, it does
Um,
seem like it's a bit of a well, his and Donna's romance is kind of like the sort of back burner subplot, but I
you
think
can
they
you
tend to build on it quite well.
yeah you can probably put like all of Ray's scenes within like 5 minutes of the next like the 5 episodes that we watch.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, all right, so we start out with JR and Kristen. Um, she wants him at her place for the night, and he's like, honey, it's family night. Like,
Yeah.
sorry."
Yeah.
And this is where, he blows her off a lot in these episodes, actually. So you see her kind of building up anger and resentment.
I always find it
um,
interesting because it does sort of play out a little bit over the next couple of episodes, but it's like, okay, so you've kind of got this like not so great dynamic of being, I get, the mistress sort of thing, or at least like that's what she wants to be. She wants to be sort of like this, like that mistress type vibe who JR goes to, for all that sort of support he doesn't get at home. But it's weird, like he just doesn't treat her that way. And yeah, and I just sort of think I sort of I get sort of her reasoning why Kristen herself is mad, but I'm just like also at the same time like, what do you expect? Like,
I don't know. I think her goal is actually to not be the mistress and to actually have him,
you reckon?
and to be rich. Yeah, for sure.
I
Especially
get
with
it, like,
the
oh
end.
no, keep going.
No, we'll continue. We have a lot to talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, so it's Jacques' birthday. I don't know how old he's turning. Nobody ever says ages in these things.
No.
Um, Alan Beams at I guess, where are they at? They're like a restaurant or something.
Oh, with Lucy? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Oh
yeah,
no,
they're at like a
at the
restaurant.
start, sorry, at the birthday dinner. That's right. Beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so Alan comes in and they're having like just their like yeah, just a birthday dinner, and he comes up and he's like all trying to that's obviously a setup, but he's like sort of trying to do like a supposed, I guess, polite thing and like apologize to Jock for like yeah for the issues with
For
JR or whatever.
yeah, at the barbecue or the rodeo,
Yeah,
wherever it was.
yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it was. Oh no, the rodeo. Yeah, you were right.
The
Barbecues.
rodeo.
Yeah. And
So
yeah,
yeah,
so and then they bicker. Yeah, JR starts getting real sassy, and yeah,
and then Jock is already in on it anyway, and so is Bobby. This seems to be like a turn on for Lucy because she's like, "Oh, someone that hates JR, I'm in love." Doesn't matter who it is. It probably could have been a girl. Yeah.
yeah,
And we have Falcon Crest star Laura Johnson at the bar that Alan Beam is dating.
yes.
That he turns to. We don't really get like too much of her in this clip. It's only like a second, and then
I can't even believe I didn't even realize it was her. I was like, that's what I was talking to you about that scene later. I was like, damn, this is good. And you're like, oh yeah, that's Laura Johnson. I'm like, oh my god, it is. Like, what the hell? Like,
what are you watching it on a 6-inch screen?
no, no, it's just been like, it has been actual years since I went through Falcon Crest.
Okay, so yeah.
It has been a while.
Um, Laura Johnson's there, blah blah blah. Alan's
Yeah,
girlfriend. Um, Jack and Ellie are still a bit strained by like the breast cancer thing. She's like still kind of pushing him away, and he's still trying to like move in and be like, let's have things like they were, and she's like, no.
Well,
Um,
I think it's sort of like yeah, she's just in that mode where she doesn't. It's like, oh well, things aren't what they were though, and it's just like, yeah, you're still like she's just still healing and trying to sort of like cope with it all, and
right, and
it's
he's
sort of
trying to
yeah,
pretend it didn't happen, where it's a major
yeah.
event in her life that
Well,
happened. So
I think that's it, isn't it? It's like he's trying to sort of like show her that it doesn't like that that he still sees her as like his wife and all that. He's trying to reassure her, but he's just at the same time he's not saying the right things.
yeah, yeah. But she basically ignores him and then goes off to the baby because John Ross is always crying in that house. It's his mama don't take care of him. Um, the fight made the paper, so everybody gets the paper the next day. JR asks Sue Ellen about Dr. Elby. We find out she's seeing him 3 times a week. Alan's doing some shady shit at Cliff's headquarters. Did you catch what he was doing?
Yeah, he was writing down false donations.
Oh, okay. So, because he's getting money from JR, or yeah, JR. It's
So
like
yeah,
fully supporting his campaign.
so he writes down false donations and stuff like that, and he like it didn't is as like an incentive, like, oh, this is to show that people are interested. Meanwhile, he's already got like JR's money. So yeah.
Yeah. Lucy goes to see Alan Beam. She's got the hots for him, it seems. He asks her to go to dinner. She's like, I'm grounded because I got 3 speeding tickets. Are we really surprised that Lucy speeds around
No,
and has all these
no.
tickets?
Yeah.
So yeah, she's grounded. Sue Ellen has issues with the baby. Anytime she sees John Ross, she thinks about how she was used by JR and Cliff. So that's kind of like the turn off and why she won't like do anything with the baby, touch him. She does talk to him though. She goes to the
He started
baby.
to, yeah. Well,
She
it's
kind
like
of treats him like a little shrink.
yeah, like I always find the storyline with Sue Ellen is like, oh wait, she's sort of it's like when someone's like she's like actually scared that like the kid will like something will happen and then the kid will in the end the kid will hurt her, and it's like these little scenes where you see her just talking to him or like talking just in the room and stuff. It's all these like little tiptoes, because she's
Yeah,
I find the uniqueness about it all is that like they sit there and think that Swollen, and she does act that way, mind you, in front of everybody as well, and like she feels that way at times. They talk about her distance, yet she's constantly like resisting to get closer because she's hurt. Like she has all the natural instincts that they're worried she doesn't have. He's just
yeah,
going to deal with everything because of how he came into the world.
right. We still have Alan Beam. He's trying to get Cliff to run for the Senate.
Yeah.
Because once again, I feel like he's pushing so hard that I feel like Cliff should just get it and be like, "Listen, I know you're with JR. Like Cliff is kind of stupid, whatever, in these episodes anyway. Smart
Yeah,
yet
a little
dumb.
bit. Yeah,
His
I think it's
hate, his hate is like driving him basically to make stupid decisions
and even
for
JR
about
plays on he knows that it will
for
happen.
about
He knows
10 seasons.
yeah.
Um, so Pam and Bobby are talking about um taking. Well, Bobby's, she knows that Bobby's trying to take Cliff down, but not like in a bad way. He's just trying to stop them so they can do their oil shit.
Mm,
Um, and she's like, "Well, stop it." And he's like, "No, I can't."
yeah.
Cliff bumps into Sue Ellen. He tries to talk to her, but she blows him off this time. She blows him off a lot, I feel like. He asks about the baby. She is nice about that. She's like, he's fine. And then she rolls out. Lucy gets Muriel. I think Muriel's in a bunch of episodes, like starting now.
She is.
Um,
Like, hasn't she been mentioned already a couple of times? Well, did
I
she also
think
like
so.
yeah, and then yeah, they
It's her
actually
bestie.
yeah, I like Muriel. She sticks around for quite a while though.
Yeah, she does for at least 4 seasons, I think. Just a recurring. She's probably on like a few episodes a season.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yes, it's her redheaded best friend. Um, so yeah, she uses Muriel say like, "Oh, tell my grandpa, that you need my help or whatever." And she sways them. She
I
pretty
think
much
it's kind
begs
of
them.
funny that I think it's kind of funny that even Jock almost doesn't believe the story. She's like, "Oh, her history notes are so much better than mine," and he just like looks at Lucy, where he's like, "Really? Like, okay, darling. Like, okay, darling. Have for tonight
Yeah, she
only."
just she just wants to go over there for the night or whatever and really go with Alan Beam, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Um, Cliff finally wait, hold on. Cliff mentions winning Sue Ellen to Pam. Like he thinks if he gets elected that he's going to get Sue Ellen.
Well, it'll
Um,
make it easier. Like, and he can hurt the yeah, yeah,
and he can finish off the Ewings if he wins
yeah,
the election.
yeah,
Um, he mentions the foreign leases here, and then Pam is like the ones that JR had because she finds out about it in this episode.
Pam does.
So Pam knows. So she kind of like knows something's up. Like she doesn't find out officially what he's doing, but she like knows something's going on
Yeah, so she
because
hears the
remember
story.
she's told that they don't have any money.
Yeah, that they're like running low because of all the restrictions on Texas drilling, and
Hmm.
these
That Cliff
rumors.
is causing.
Yeah, and then Cliff's obviously hearing all these, like, because at this point, what was it? It's only what, a rumor or something. Like Cliff is not, because I'm pretty
Yeah, they're
sure.
not 100% sure. There's
Yeah,
rumors.
that's what
Yeah,
I thought. And then yeah, she
but
ends up
if
questioning Abby about that too. Yeah,
yeah, but Pam's smart sometimes. Helen and Lucy go to dinner. They're very flirty. They say that they want to like secretly date so nobody knows. And it's basically like dinner's cut short because he just wants to go back to his place and bang her.
yeah,
Pam's upset that because she goes home and she's like, "Why are you lying to me?" Like, she thinks Bobby's lying.
yeah,
She mentions the foreign oil leases and tells what Cliff says, and he's like, "What's going on here?" Like he
yeah.
doesn't have a clue, and he doesn't.
No,
Um, so later on, I guess the next day, Lucy sees Alan and JR meet up. And they like shake hands, like they're still friends, and they're not supposed to be friends.
she sees them colluding essentially because she follows him. Why?
Hmm.
I can't remember. Why was she following Alan? I can't even remember. Did she go to stop by and then?
I think she was just gonna be cute and like surprise him. Like she saw him and she was
Yeah,
like, "Oh, I'm gonna you go see him." And she was like on her way over and like she saw him like with
that's
JR. And
right.
she's like
Yeah,
and got upset and rolled out.
yeah,
Um, Bobby and Connie call around to find out about the foreign leases. They're both on the case. Um, Bobby digs like immediately.
mm,
Bobby calls Roy about the rig, so he knows. He says he knows nothing, so he knows something's up.
yeah.
Um,
I'm pretty
and
sure he ends up doesn't he go in and ask Kristen about things as well, and Kristen sort of directs him over to the cartel. That's kind of where Bobby sort of manages to sort of ferret out a bit more info.
yeah, he's really kind of nasty to her, and she's like, "Ask the cartel, don't ask me," even though she knows
Mm.
everything. A
Yeah,
little shithead.
yeah, she's like flat out
Um,
lying. But yeah, and she has the audacity to be upset when he's then like not like mean to her. I'm like, he knows you're lying, bitch. Like,
I know. Alan and Laura Johnson are together. Her name is Betty Lou in this, in this series. She's only in a handful of episodes, not even. She's only in like two or three, I think, total. But they're home and Lucy comes by. She calls him a liar and runs off pretty much. Betty Lou wants to know what's going on.
mm,
He says he wants to put things on hold for a while with her because he wants to marry Lucy.
yeah,
But then he says he loves her and she says you're rotten.
That whole
And
thing though, like, because like the way they established that, like it's only like one scene, but they've clearly been seeing each other for a while. Like they were obviously in like a whole moment there. The thing with Lucy happens, and she just plays it so well. Like she is just like, what is going on? Like,
yeah,
and then just as he tells her, I don't know, it's all one scene, but you just see how he changes in her eyes like that, you know? And then he does that toxic thing because she's still in love with him, where he's like, I'll call you tomorrow. And she just like looks at him, you know? Like, I just felt for her. I was like, ah, you are so snagged in with this psycho dude, aren't you, lady? Like,
that's probably when she leaves and goes to Falcon Crest because she's so upset.
yeah, yeah,
But
definitely.
no, I think I forget when she came in the Falcon Crest. I want to say 81, 81,
Wasn't it
82,
season
80.
three?
Season 3, but I think it was the 82 to 83 season. I think.
I think, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Um, and stayed till season 5. But yeah, so this is 1979 we're in now. So yeah, but she's good. She's a good actress. That's why probably why she got the role.
Yeah, fair point.
Um, Kristen and JR are together. Alan calls and tells about Lucy. Um, Pam wants to listen to Bobby. He says he doesn't know what's going on, but he will find out. And then they
Yeah,
bang.
yeah,
Or we're to assume. JR fakes a phone call because Lucy's around. So she overhears, and he's like, "Oh, we gotta fire him, whatever."
talking about Alan
Regard
and everything.
referring to Alan, yeah. And Lucy seems to get excited again, like, "Oh, okay, he can be
Yeah,
my
because
dream man after all."
they sort of had that conversation where Alan like says they got sort of caught out, and so JR sets it up in a way to sort of keep Lucy on side, essentially.
Yeah. JR gets to work. Bobby questions him about the foreign drilling. Mentions leverage and loans. JR is like making all like pulling shit out of his ass, pretty much.
Yeah,
Bobby says, "I'll find out the truth."
yeah.
Alan and Lucy are back together, and he says Lucy is all that matters to him. That's all I got on that one. Got anything else?
No, that was pretty much it. Just a lot of JR and Alan scheming, and Alan just
Mm-hmm.
kind of thinking, oh yeah, Lucy's going to be that extra prize in like the whole scheme, and blah blah blah. So there's
Because
just yeah,
she would be the heiress, right? I would
yeah,
assume.
yeah,
So
definitely.
episode 12 is called Ellie Saves the Day. I wonder what this episode's about.
Yeah,
I'm sure they didn't put it in the TV guide back then. Because if they, you would kind of know what's going to happen, I feel like. What's that? Starts off like JR is talking on the phone. Behind schedule, something of the oil
there's
things behind schedule
like way
because of
behind. He's starting to, yeah,
the
way behind.
typhoon that happened.
Starting to stress out majorly about the Southeast Asia wells coming in because not only just the typhoon, but it's been taking a while to actually strike anyways. So like the it's taken longer than they expected to actually strike, and now they've hit bad weather. So of course, yeah. And what was it? I think they said that the loans were due, or at least the first payments on the loans were due in like a week's time from then.
Yeah, so shit's going down.
Yeah,
Um,
he's stressing hard.
Kristen tries calming him, but he pushes her away again. He's gonna file or something.
Yeah.
JR sets up a meeting with Alan. Ellie brings up building a house on his land.
She just mentions to Ray to like that, like asks him about has he got any plans yet, and he's like sort of a little bit aloof about it, and she's like, you shouldn't wait for too long. It's always good to put down your roots. That's your land. There's nothing quite like having your own house. It's like on your
Right.
own property sort of thing, and
I
that's
didn't
all
even
just
write
like
Ray's name here because I was like, who did I put that about? But
no. I
yes.
think I think she just comes across him out the back somewhere. I can't remember. It's a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
yeah.
It's one of like the few Ray scenes, and I think that's it for that episode that he's in. Um, Alan says he needs 25,000 more dollars. Which where's JR's getting this money? He must have like emergency money or something. He has like apparently no money right now.
So like, well, it's he would have already had that money set aside for the fake campaign. You know what I mean? So it's like would have been money already accounted for. And it's not that they don't sort of like have money in terms to like pay for their drinks. They don't have money to like start paying off like massive interest on like a shitload of money like
Right.
for the investment. I think it's more the scale, like, they
Yeah.
they would, that's why the house will be gone because they'll still have money.
JR
The super
JR is
rich
like put JR is like really putting pressure on Alan. Like it's got to happen this week because
we need
shit's
to,
going down.
yeah,
This is where Bobby questions Kristen about JR. She says he doesn't know where he is. She denies knowing anything about the South Asia deals, whatever, and that's what she says about talking to the cartel.
yeah.
Pam and Cliff talk. He says he will declare his candidacy. Why can't I say that word? Candid
Candidacy.
candidacy
Candidacy.
candidacy. I wrote it weird, and I'm like, I totally butchered it. um, if he feels that people are on his side,
Yeah.
I guess he just has to like schmooze and see if like people are looking like they're gonna back him or something.
Yeah, he's sort of
Um,
just seeing if he actually has any support or if it's just like, because obviously he'd like to go to office, but he doesn't sort of see the scandal that occurred with his like last run to sort of just go away. And he doesn't, he's like, well, he's sort of been like very like ambivalent about the supposed support he's getting. So like now he's starting to notice more because Alan's starting to like, fake donations, there's money there apparently, all that sort of extra
yeah.
stuff.
He wants Pam to help him see Sue Ellen, and she basically leads him in the right direction. She's like, well, she goes to a shrink, Dr. Albie, like 3 times a week. And I
Yeah.
guess it's up to him to find out, like, where that is. I don't know. Unless Dr. Albie's just well known. I don't
Well,
know.
given how
Kristen is
much
up.
money they seem to pay him, I'd say he'd probably be like a specialist in his like in his field of treatment. I don't know.
Right. Kristen
They
is
keep going
upset
about
about.
how much they pay him though.
Kristen's upset about how Bobby talked to her. Bobby talks to Jordan Lee about JR's dealings. Mentions collateral. JR put something real big up. And then that's when he finds out that he mortgaged Southport.
Yeah, so like he goes through and like Bobby does that so well, by the way, at that little luncheonette with Jordan Lee. He
I
just
love
plays
Jordan Lee.
he just plays Jordan like a fiddle a bit just to get him to like give away a bit more, and Bobby's just able to kind of put it together from there. And yeah,
Yeah, and something happens, I think, coming up, which we'll talk about in a minute.
yeah.
That I just thought about that they didn't show a follow up to, and I'm curious.
Okay.
So Bobby is waiting for JR outside, um, and then I have shows him mortgaging Southwark. Is that when he says it? I'm confused. I don't know.
Yeah, that's so like that's when Bobby has like
Oh,
the
he shows
proof.
them the papers. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like, the actual contract. Yeah. He shows him the actual papers and Don sort of found out. And because JR tries to blow him off, and then Bobby just grabs him and slings him around a little bit, and he's like, "What about this?"
Yeah. Ellie and Jock come out as they hear things going on. Bobby fills them in. Jock goes off on JR. Um, the oil's coming in, or he says that oil's coming in, but it's going to be close, like a close call. Ellie goes off. Jock blames himself.
Well,
So
as soon
yeah,
as Josh finds out that a typhoon hit, like a bad typhoon hit, he's like, "So we're screwed."
yeah,
Essentially,
he already
he's like, "Oh no,
knows. Yeah,
he's gonna be close," and he's like, "No, we're screwed." Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Sue Ellen says you lost everything. She's never seen him look so scared. And then, of course, he has to dig in her too. He's like, you should just go to bed because you look haggard if you don't get your full 8 hours of sleep.
yeah.
Um, and then she's like, "Are you going to Kristen? Because I don't think she's ever been to bed with a poor man."
That was a great line. I don't ever think she's ever been to bed with a poor man before. And that cut him. He looks back at her, like,
Yeah.
And you
That
see
is a
just how
good
much
one.
that status means to JR.
Well, you've finally done it, haven't you, JR? You've lost everything.
So, Ellen, what have you been doing? Hiding on the staircase, listening?
Oh, I wasn't hiding, JR. I was just listening. And Pamela and Lucy were doing the same thing. Poor little Lucy. I bet she doesn't know what to think. She's happy to see you fall flat, but I don't know how she's going to manage without all the you and money.
Lucy's gonna be fine. So is the rest of the family.
Not this time. You're scared, aren't you? Really scared.
That a little insight you picked up from your psychiatrist?
No. Just from listening.
Bobby worries about Ellie. He says the Ewings will be destroyed by his own brother and not Pam's.
Mm.
Chuck and Bobby talk. He is depressed. That's all I have in that one. Um, Alan calls JR with good news about Cliff running for Senate.
Yeah,
He's
so
like, Alan, you deserve a bonus.
and he's officially
Um,
like left the
yeah,
OLM or is declaring his intentions to.
yeah, like JR thinks he's in the clear, and I'm like, dude, yeah, screw it up.
Yeah, I think
Um,
he did. Yeah,
JR comes home, he's all happy, tells them about Cliff resigning at the OLM. Um, he says that that'll be able to get them the extension that they needed. Um, with this news I have. Cliff talks to Sue Ellen. She blows him off again. Bobby apologizes to Kristen. Cliff announces his running. Bobby goes to hit JR after he talks about Pam.
talking smack about Pam again. Yeah,
Yeah, I forget what he said, but it was pretty dickheaded, of course. Vaughn says they can't do anything to help with South Fork when they go to Vaughn Leland.
yeah.
Sue Ellen,
It's essentially because it'll take time for obviously production and everything to start up again. Blah blah blah. Like the payments will still be
yeah,
due. Like they'll still
and
default.
if Cliff doesn't win, they don't know who's going to win. You know, whatever the candidacy for, like they can't predict it, so they can't like just
Yeah,
do
it's too
anything right now.
unpredictable.
Yeah. Sue Ellen tells JR off. He's out. She goes to John Ross Jr. to talk to him. Ellie overhears. Um, then we find out that Bill Watson is the new head of OLM, and Jock and JR like that guy. I guess. I guess he's a dickhead or a
Yeah,
schemer.
yeah, most likely.
Kristen says Jock took everything. Wait, what? I don't even know what that means. Oh yeah,
Oh,
she calls Jordan Lee for a date. This is what I was talking about. That doesn't get followed up. They don't ever show Kristen with Jordan Lee on the date, right?
I don't think in this episode
Yeah.
no, because this ends up being something that they do call back to after she, disappears and she's like scamming money off everyone. Later,
I don't remember.
like like when she's like, pregnant.
Oh, way later.
Yeah, like
Okay.
four,
I'm
season
like in
four.
this episode.
No,
I
no.
got you. So
Yeah.
she's just basically having a backup plan
Yeah.
with Jordan Lee because I guess JR's blowing her off left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Ellie comes in, tells JR she doesn't understand his motives. Next week is his first payment. Ellie mentions that they can dig on Section 40 for oil, which will go against her daddy's wishes, but she'll do whatever she can to save South Fork.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to lose South Fork over an oil deal.
Yeah. And she knows that
Ellie,
banks aren't going to exactly preserve the land either, so she might as well, do it under
mhm.
her own terms.
Yeah, Ellie goes to sign the papers and leaves and says, I may never forgive you for this, JR. Which I guess that's what puts her in the lineup of possibly shooting JR. Not that his mother ever would. I mean, she does. She's probably, the most disappointed in him from all of the things we see.
Yeah.
So episode 13 is called Mother of the Year, which is funny. Like every time I hear the titles, I already know exactly who they're going to talk about. But it's probably because we know the series as well as we do. John Ross is crying. Pam goes to take care of him. The nurse comes in, talks shit about Sue Ellen. She overhears.
Yeah, pretty much.
That nurse has some balls. Like I know, like Pam and Sue Ellen don't get along, but I feel like it's still family, and I feel like Pam would probably take Sue Ellen's side over that nurse. Um, Jr. harasses Sue Ellen about the baby. He calls her unfit. She calls him unfit.
Yeah, they start to have a
Um,
proper argument about it because
yeah,
Sue Ellen's not getting up and well JR's not either. And he's like, well, that's your responsibility. But basically it's just like, Pam's not the mother. And yeah.
yeah. Bobby talks to her about Jr. or John Ross. I'm sorry. It's drilling day. Ellie is upset. Blames Jock for Jr. being a douche.
Mm,
JR gets to work. Bobby, Jack, and Vaughn are there. Says he will sell the oil leases. Um, Jack wants to stop the drilling on Section 40. JR leaves, gets drunk at the Cattlemen's Club. Bobby goes there. I put, "You are too darn good to be rich," JR says to Bobby.
yeah, so like Jock's decided that he's going to take control of the situation and because the Southeast Asian wells will come in, it's just a matter of them having the money to pay back the loans. He's willing to sell the thingos off for 70 cents on the dollar or something like that. And that's
Yeah, yeah.
just so he can avoid actually having to pump Section 40. It's all, yeah, because he even says, like, under a different circumstance, I would have just let it play out. But, like, no, I don't really want to drill. So, like, he hits up
Yeah, for
Vaughn.
sure. For Miss Ellie, of course. He'll do
Yeah,
anything for her.
yeah.
Um,
So, it's all
and
about that stuff.
JR tells Bobby he's already considered himself an only child.
JR's so dramatic, like I know that he competes with them and stuff like that, but the man defines himself in that family, like as if he doesn't, and he compete the way he competes against his siblings, and he'd be lost without his siblings. He's an idiot. Like I get
Yeah, he
the
really is.
yeah, like he really would be, like, despite the fact that he's actually absolutely horrible to everyone. Like
We hear the Sue Ellen music again in this episode.
yeah,
But Sue Ellen music is on.
yeah. It's been a while,
Um,
a little while.
Cliff wants to talk to her. They'll meet up tomorrow. Sue Ellen talks to John Ross again. JR hears her. He's like, "Pick her up or something." She says, "You do it," and walks out.
Basically, comes in, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm glad that like our argument last night, I guess, is like starting to achieve results." And she's just like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah. My God, I cannot understand my writing. I must have fell asleep or something. Anyway, Pam comes home. Bobby's around. I don't. I don't know. Do you remember that scene? Sue Ellen goes to Cliff after that. Must not have
um,
been important.
no, I don't think it was like. Oh, I think isn't it just that like I think they're just talking about the baby again, aren't they? Like he starts to say, like he's like, oh, she comes home from shopping. That's right.
Yeah.
She's got all the toys and everything for the kid.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
And
she was
Bobby,
baby shopping.
yeah, and Bobby sort
She's
of
basically treating John Ross like it's her baby.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty sure that's what it was about. They don't argue about it. I don't think just there, but he starts to actually get concerned. I actually think this is when they start actually, because prior to that, like I find that Pam seems very passively looking after it, but like after John Ross, but I think like it's around here where they're like trying to actually establish that she's got a bit of an unhealthy bond with the kid.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Sue Ellen and Cliff meet up. They go off on each other kind of. She's like, you used me. Um, and she
you know
don't
what
like that.
bothers me about that is like I get that like they're sort of angry at each other, and I get where she's coming from, but and like it's not that it hasn't been established that Sue Ellen like the power and the position of being in that family and stuff, but
Right.
Cliff like fully goes, oh no, you married JR for his position and his money, you're just a user and all that. Unlike Cliff acting triggered as always, just because he was hit with the pills. Like that scene drove me a little nuts because I'm just like, no, like you know, and then the poor thing actually takes it on. She's like, oh, he calls her a parasite and everything like that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I was like, Cliff, that's literally what you did though. Like, you know, like I know that she's
Yeah.
and all that. I just don't like the way he seems to like. He just completely. She seemed like she was angry at him for things that he did, yes, but he's sort of like just presuming right off the bat, like, oh no, you use that, you know, you married JR for the position and money. Like, I just wish she would have turned around and just said, "Excuse me, I married him because I loved him at the time."
Right.
You know, what did you get with
Yeah.
me for? You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think Cliff. I like Cliff, but he pisses me off because he has so much
Yeah.
pull
Same.
when he speaks to people like that. Like, and I'm like, you are
He's
just such a villain.
driven, but this is such proof that he's just driven by hate. Like he just
Oh,
does
yeah,
a lot of stupid shit. He hates
yeah,
JR that much that he just does dumb shit all the time, especially
yeah.
in these early seasons.
Well, like I will say too, like even as she leaves after he yells at her, he kind of sort of takes a step back. He sort of like see him, and he's like, it's almost like a not as like sad because he's still mad, but it's like that went too far. Like he's like, crap, you know. It just kind of made things worse with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's only like a tiny expression, but Ken Kershavel's a good actor. He's able to portray like
He's
dynamics.
great.
So
Seriously.
yeah, he is.
I'm gonna have JR goes to Von Leland once I put once a week. I don't know what that means. JR tells Sue Ellen she is the same.
He
Oh, like
goes
she's
to
that
he
Dr.
goes
Albie's
to
not helping her and that she's the same as she always was.
so he goes to Von demanding Von like, you know, help him out and get a few extra days, but Vaughn's not willing to go against Jock who's taking control. He's like, nah. And that yeah, JR's screaming at him over it. And then Sue Ellen's sitting there having like a little existential moment where she asks like well it's true. She's like, you know, and I sort of get why she asked JR, like they're not exactly close and like at the moment and all that, but would know her arguably better than anybody else because of the fact that they've been married for so long, like over a
Right.
period of time, blah blah blah. And even though he doesn't seem like quite annoyed, he's ambivalent with his comment. He doesn't actually tell her whether or not she's a user or not. He tells her, Sue Ellen, you're the same as when I met you. You haven't changed a bit. You know, like it's
Yeah.
kind of, I felt like it's kind of ambivalent to what she was asking.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just my opinion though.
We have that Luke we find out that Luke sent a postcard, that little boy from that one random episode. And I think
Yeah.
this is the last time. I don't even remember hearing about him again. But I guess
Yeah.
it's to cause drama for Pam.
Yeah, make them the
John,
babies.
John Ross cries. Pam goes to him. Sue Ellen's in there, but just standing there like a fool. Pam goes off on her. She's like, "It's your baby. Like, pick him up. Like, what the fuck?"
Mm.
Um, she says it's Mrs. Reeves' job. Sue Ellen, Sue Ellen then goes to her appointment with Dr. Elby. Um, she basically goes off on him for not being able to pick up her baby. She's like, "It's your fault. I've been coming here for months. Like, why can't I pick up my baby and take care of him?" Cliff said, "Oh yeah, this is what Cliff said. She couldn't love anyone." Dr. Albee says, "Take a chance with the baby."
Dr. Elby, I like these scenes with him and Sue Ellen because he's
I do
literally like
too.
he's so it's so well done, like because she's sitting there screaming about everything and he just sort of like he puts the onus back on her. He's just like, no, we're here to try and figure, you know, get you to open up again so you can you know, learn, take a chance and you know, learn to love things. You like love your son, like maybe love Dusty if that's where you want to go, you know.
Yeah,
um and all that, like I really like I like the way they do this because it's so constructive. Like what he says, it's not really cliche. Like it's like I guess what we were saying like last time with like Dr. Toscani and Dynasty.
Mhm.
Like he's very sort of like classic soap doctor, and I'm not saying that there is an element of that in Dallas, obviously, but it's just the level of conversation that they're having. He just guides Sue Ellen and he lets her figure it out for herself, even through her frustrations. And like,
Yeah.
when she's asking him for clarity, he's just like, you need to learn how to trust yourself to make your own decisions. She's like, how about a straight answer? And he's just like, well, maybe next time we can discuss your dependence. And he's smiling at her the whole time, like even though she's pissed off at him. Like
Yeah. Yeah,
I
right.
love. I gotta try and remember the actor's name as well because he's really good.
Yeah, he is. I don't think he did much. I thought I looked him up before, but I'll look him up for next time.
Mm.
Sue Ellen tries to call Dusty, but he's like not around. Lucy comes in and goes off on her about not going in on John Ross. I like this scene too. This was fun.
Same.
Um, Says you don't want him. Uh, his cousin Lucy will teach him, how to be a Ewing in the family.
I love all that stuff because it's like Sue Ellen's just, don't you compare me to your parents? And she's like, well, why not? My parents didn't want me either. And she's like, they did love you, Lucy. And she's like, yeah, okay, but I had to wait till I was a grown up before I knew that. Is little John gonna have to wait till he's like my age before you tell him that you care about him? Like, it's all very like, I like that they're just cutting through that all that superficial like courtesy stuff that they have been doing up to that point, outside of
Right.
like extreme circumstances, like when Sue Ellen was in the hospital, and she just hits her with it. And I find even the character development between season 1 and 3 to be amazing there, because even though Sue Ellen's like taken aback by it, she takes it on board. She doesn't just
Yeah.
shut down or anything, create a wall. She takes it on board. She's like, I do love him, Lucy. And she's like, well,
He started on me today. He loved it.
Of course, he's a Ewing. Where's Sue Ellen?
Dusty Farlow, please. No. Wait, when will you be back? Just a friend. I'll call back later. Thank you. Well, Lucy, I didn't hear you come in.
No. And I suppose you didn't hear little John screaming his lungs out either.
Where was Mrs. Reeves?
She was there. Where were you?
I really don't care to discuss this with you, Lucy.
Of course not. I'm just a kid. A nothing. What difference does it make what a kid thinks or feels?
That is not what I meant.
Isn't it? I know how much kids mean in this family.
Really, Lucy, I am not up to your dramatics now. Will you please excuse me?
What is it about the Ewings that makes kids so unwanted? Is it a curse or something? Is every child in this family meant to grow up without parents?
Don't you compare J.R. and me with your parents. We're here in this house with our child.
Are you? You don't want him any more than my parents wanted me.
Your parents loved you, Lucy.
Yeah, like do something about it.
Lucy is too. She's like, in that scene, it's like what she's saying is that's John Ross in the next 18, 20 years. That's Lucy. That exact thing is going to be John Ross. It's the future. It's the kid speaking to you.
Right.
It's just so well done. So well done.
So, Ray finds bones.
Yes.
I forgot about this story, and I honestly don't remember where it goes at all. I feel like it went to nowhere.
I do. I remember this. I actually didn't think that they like began it
Did it
like
till later?
Yeah, I thought it was like a tiny bit later, but then I was checking the episode count, and it does come up quite soon. So I was like, oh, of course. But I just thought
Okay.
it was like after the Southeast Asian stuff.
Okay.
But I do remember all this. If you don't remember this is going to be good.
Yeah, I don't remember it really. Jay, which is funny because I literally just watched the series like 2 years ago again, but whatever. You know how my brain works. JR gets a call. They hit oil in Southeast Asia. Phone rings off the hook. Secretaries are going wild. Everybody's going wild. Everyone's happy. Bobby and Jock get home and find
Like the
out the
happiest
news.
scene they are ever.
Well, for a minute. JR goes home with flowers and champagne and then is all disappointed because everybody knows. He's like, oh. It's like 'cause he wanted to be like the hero
Yeah,
and come in
yeah.
and be like, I saved everything. JR wants thanks. Jock's like, you gambled our home. You get no thanks from me, pal.
Yeah.
And then we find out Jock wants to go back and run Ewing again because he don't trust JR anymore.
Nope.
Oh, Pam hears the baby and goes upstairs. Bobby follows Sue Ellen, picks up John Ross and holds him. And Pam kind of has a bit of a breakdown.
Yeah. And she's like, I've lost him. And it is a little bit sad, but yeah.
Yeah. So episode 14 is return engagements. And I guess the returns. I'm
Backdoor
sorry?
episode into the backdoor episode, sort of like a backdoor sort
Backdoor
of
pilot.
pilot. Yeah, going into
We have Joan Van Art comes back, and
yeah.
we have a Gary recast, Ted Shackelford. Ellie is looking at drawings. Did Gary draw? I was confused at what the drawings were.
I just
Or did
assumed
she?
that. I think I'm not sure. I assumed it was something that, like, yeah, from when they were young or
Like he
something. 'Cause
did?
it just kind of opens up to that. Yeah.
And she's playing some record that's Gary's favorite record. We find out it's his birthday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lucy's getting ready to go to Houston. JR and Bobby fight about Gary. JR is talking shit about Bobby's defending him, and he's not even there.
Yeah.
JR says to Ellen, oh, I guess I think Sue Ellen defends Lucy or something, and Sue Ellen says or no, oh my god, I cannot get it together. JR says that Sue Ellen's compassion for others is touching. Being a dickhead, of course.
Of course.
Jack goes to Miss Ellie. She wants Gary home, and Jack. I don't think Jack cares. I think he doesn't. I still don't think he wants him home. Jack's such a dick.
Yeah, he's just kind of indifferent about it and stuff. So I think Ellie goes and talks to Lucy, doesn't she?
And that's the thing. Like, Jack would do anything for Miss Ellie, like trying to fight for this oil. Like, but why wouldn't you just go get her damn son? Like, he wouldn't try to find him. Like, instead, he's like, oh, well, if he comes home, he'll just run like always. Like, Jack, you're trying to make it up to Ellie, and she's devastated that her son is not home right now.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to be like, hey, how about we go try to find him? Let's call some people.
Yeah.
That would have probably got in good graces with Miss Ellie. You'd be off the shit list.
Yeah.
But whatever. We're dealing with feelings. So Ellen talks to JR about Kristen. Asks about him being discreet. She's like, don't you think you should be discreet? Like, you know. And he's like, no, I'll do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Or he thinks, oh no, doesn't he say something along the lines like, oh, that's like dirty if people think of that?
Yeah, like he's taking her on a business trip, and then she's like, "Okay, don't you think you should be more discreet?" And he's like, "Oh, only dirty minds would think that." And she's like, "Well, there's no shortage of that in Dallas, so like, behave,
Yeah, right.
like be sensible, more or less." And yeah,
Ellie tells Lucy she's going to go to see Val with her. She's like, you're going to see Valine? All right. Ellie asks, oh, wait, what? Is that when they get to Valine already?
no, I think like yeah. So Ellie goes and hits up Lucy about talking to Valine because she knows that Valine's been in contact with Gary, and so Lucy's off to meet Valine right then and there, pretty much like they just teed it up on the phone, and so Ellie goes with her.
So yeah, Ellie asks Val to tell Gary that she wants to see him or talk to him or anything. We have some dude calls South Fork looking for Kristen.
Is it
and
Rudy?
Yeah,
Rudolph?
I think it's Rudy. And
Yeah.
Sue Ellen kind of leads them to where she's at.
Sue Ellen spends a decent amount of this episode kind of shit staring people, and it's pretty good.
It is really good. So funny. Um, where was I? Valine gets home from wherever she was, and new Gary is there. And apparently, we find out that they've been seeing each other for over a year. Later on in this episode, we find that out. But they've been basically seeing each other since the last time she got a hold of Lucy, I guess.
Yeah, so it seemed like not
Because it
as
wasn't right
direct.
away.
No, it wasn't right away. It would have been around that time, I guess, off and on. So like, and they've been in Dallas essentially.
Yeah, which is
Oh wait,
kind of
no,
fun that
Houston.
JR didn't know.
Wait, was it Houston or Dallas? It was Dallas,
I
wasn't
don't.
it?
I think it was Dallas because Lucy was going to go to Houston and she was going to go see her mom before she went there. I thought.
That's right. That's right. Beg your pardon. I just thought I might have mixed that up a bit.
Yeah, you never know. I could have mixed it up too.
No, it makes sense because Ellie wouldn't have gone all the way to Houston. Like in the car, she would have just probably flown.
So Valine tells Gary like your mom wants to see you, whatever.
Mm.
She tells him. He gets all mad because he doesn't want anything to do with his family. I don't. I don't understand them sometimes. Like Gary and Ellie had zero issues, so it made no sense to me. Besides her being a shit mother and not defending them and protecting them, I guess. But
It's more that
but
like
I
it's
didn't think he knew that.
because he knows that he can't resist her, and she pulls him back in. He loves his mum, and she
Right,
always
right.
he wants to spend time with her, obviously, and he loves Bobby, and and he loves Lucy and all that. But that I think that was what was really sort of like a big thing about when he came last time in season 2. It just sort of shows you like how Gary doesn't fit with them, and the way they just pull him into their world that he doesn't fit into.
Yeah,
And even Ellie fits into that world a lot more than Gary does, you know?
I guess. Um, JR and Kristen are where in Austin? I was losing track because somebody was in Houston, somebody was in Austin.
I know they were definitely in a different city. I'd say Austin or whatever because they had to
I
fly
think
back
it was
up there. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And we see that Kristen's dude's there. What's his name?
Rudy.
Rudy.
I,
I
don't-
wrote it
I can't remember
later. I
his full
wrote
name.
dude.
But yeah, it's Rudy, and then but JR says his full name at some point that I can't remember. So it's Rudolph something. But yeah.
Gary. Oh yeah, at the end. Gary goes to Bobby. Says you got to see Mama. They call Miss Ellie. Gary talks to her. And he says he wants to go home and see her, or go somewhere and see her. I forget where they meet.
Yeah.
Um, JR and Kristen have dinner with a Mr. Bullock, this old man that looks like he's 110. He's probably like 60.
Yeah.
And this woman, Sally. And he gives her advice. I don't remember. Oh, he gives Kristen advice, I think, about something.
So I'm pretty sure because the oil wells have come in, they're going to try and offload it all. I think this guy, isn't he like a big refinery dude?
I think so. You know, I
Yeah.
don't
So
know business shit. I
and
didn't know what was going on.
he's sort of got that thing with that Sam Culver had a little bit with Donna, except it's more like slutty. So
Right.
yeah, and he sort of refers to that. I can't remember her name. Sorry, the blonde woman that was there that Kristen's getting jealous of. I can't remember her name.
Sally.
That was
Sally.
Sally. You just said it before.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So like,
Long
yeah,
day.
no, you're right. But yeah, no, it was basically JR was essentially dealing with her rather than was his name Eugene Bullock or whatever.
Yeah. So I forgot to mention that Gary had like kind of stormed out on Val before he was like packing a bag or whatever. But then he
Yeah,
comes back and he's like, "Oh, I want to like celebrate my birthday now," and she's cool with it because I guess she's used to him throwing temper fits. Um, Jr. wants to deal with like make a deal with Bullet. He leaves. What? It's so
essentially
crazy.
he has to deal with the blonde woman. He has to deal with Sally. So like the bloke
Call
leaves
it
and
a
Sally's
blonde
gonna be the
woman.
one. Yeah.
Um. So yeah, Sally and JR are supposed to negotiate whatever he wants. I guess he doesn't do his own business deals. He just lets her do it. And he sends Kristen off. He pushes her away again.
Ewing residence.
Ellen?
JR. How nice of you to phone.
You been drinking, honey? You sound kind of peculiar.
No, I feel perfectly fine. I've been enjoying myself enormously, anticipating how happy you're going to feel when you hear the good news.
Honey, just tell me what you want to tell me. What is it?
Well, it seems that your brother Gary is back in Dallas, and he and Valine are going to be married this afternoon. I haven't seen your mama this happy in months.
Getting married? Well, where's the wedding? When?
Oh, it's going to be a quiet little affair, I think, at Valine's place. It's a shame you're too far away to attend. I hope this didn't ruin your well-planned little holiday, darling.
Rudy goes to the bar. Kristen sees him. She says that she wants JR. Rudy says he'll be making $200,000 a year. And she's like, JR tips $200,000 a year. And then they fight a little bit. She tries to slap him. I guess they have that kind of love-hate relationship. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
they've
weird.
definitely been together before. He's essentially trying to get back with her.
Yeah. Gary sees Ellie, Val, and he have been together for over a year. Asks Val to marry him, like right then and there, because Valine's there as well.
Yeah.
After talking to Miss Ellie, which was a nice conversation. I guess she basically told him to like take a chance on love or take a chance with life, like stop just doing what you do, being
Yeah.
annoying. Kristen goes to find JR. He's with Sally, and he sends her off again. Bobby helps Gary and Val prepare for the wedding. He mentions houses that he bought in California. Where's this leading? Ellie asks if they are nice houses. Kristen finds Rudy and they hug. Bobby tells Jack about Gary. He doesn't want to go. He had enough chances. That Jack doesn't want to go to see them get married.
Yeah.
This brought a little tear to my eye. The part at the end, or later, soon.
It was nice.
JR calls home. This. Yeah, this is a good one. JR calls home. Sorellen answers. He's like, you've been drinking. She's thrilled to mention. She's thrilled to mention that Gary and Valine are home and together. I hope this didn't ruin your holiday. And he basically leaves to go stop the wedding, I guess.
Immediately.
Or try to stop.
Immediately.
Yeah. Kristen left JR and went with Rudy somewhere. So I guess if she went to spend the day or went night with him or whatever. Ellie finds Valine with a dress. She ends up wearing the same dress, or she wants to wear the same dress as she wore on her first wedding day to Gary. The first time they got married. Sorry, I put it weird. Ellie is feeling guilty and gives them a house, and pretty much begs them to take the house. Yeah.
I actually thought this was really good as far as like what we talk about a bit when it comes to Ellie and Gary, where she flat says to him, she's like, I should have fought for you and I didn't. Like, I basically let them run you out of the house.
Well, JR, look, everybody who came all the way back from Austin just to be with us.
Can I come in?
Well, of course. I just wish you'd have phoned ahead of time. We would have held up the ceremony for you.
Oh, they're married already, are they?
Yeah, JR, there are. All legal, right, and tight.
Yeah, why don't you congratulate your brother? Oh, I think I ought to kiss the bride first. Valine, congratulations.
Thank you, JR.
Gary, congratulations, bud. I sure do wish I'd been here in time.
Thank you, JR.
Yeah.
She does feel that guilt because
she's a bad mom.
Yeah. And then like she's like, don't not accept it, because it's too much, because it's not too much. It's actually too little. Like, and I love the fact that she's like, I did raise your kid, but that's because we made it impossible for you to do it.
Yeah, right.
It's really sad, but it was like a really, I know, and Ellie makes more mistakes later on, as like with these kids, anyways, as time goes on. But it was a nice sort of acknowledgement of like obviously like a long-standing issue in the family.
Yeah. Jock comes and asks if he is welcome because he wants to now attend the wedding. And of
I
course,
like
Gary
that he calls.
basically,
He just
hey
says,
Joe.
"I have a son who's getting married today," and like it's that proper like ownership and stuff like that. Because Jock doesn't talk that way about Gary,
That's true, yeah.
and I do actually like that scene. That gave me a little bit of like a sad, like a happy sad.
I know. Well, we find out that Rudy and Kristen bang. JR comes in, he calls someone at Rudy's job and gets him fired.
Yeah.
Um, and Kristen kind of helps defend them in a way. She's like, it was both of our fault. It's, whatever. And he's like, no, what did he say? He like,
No, he took advantage of you and just
yeah,
like,
took advantage of you.
yeah.
And he's like, you can go find a job in Atlanta or something like that.
Yeah.
JR comes from Austin, so I did make note that they were in Austin. I guess that's when I found out or heard it.
Yeah.
He's too late to stop the wedding, and he says, "I want to kiss the bride," and congratulations to Gary. He's just he's just blah.
Yeah.
And then the next scene is Bobby, Gary, and Valine
Val.
at their house in Knots Landing. JR asks, oh, yeah, after that,
Yeah.
it's only like a clip because then we're going to spin off into Knots Landing,
Yeah. Yeah.
which we already cover. You can look back in our past we have those episodes of Knots Landing podcast. Um, Knots Landing. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I went back to my other note. I'm a little tired, people. Give me a break. JR asked Sue Ellen why she didn't call him. And she's like, maybe it's because I don't care. And,
Yeah. Maybe it's nice
and
seeing you not
whatever.
get what you want for once, just general. Like, I don't care. Like,
And she mentions that Ellie bought Gary and Valine a house in California, and she made his day. He's the happiest he's been in a long time.
it makes me laugh the whole effort he went to get home in time when it was just like, they'll go into California anyway, you paranoid idiot. Like,
I know. He's a dope. Episode 15, Love and Marriage. Sue Ellen is holding John Ross after he was crying, so, things are normal with her and John Ross now.
yeah.
Bobby goes down, finds Pam doing work. He thinks she's distracting herself with work, which is exactly what she's doing.
Yeah.
JR and Kristen talk. He thinks getting Bobby back in the company will help keep Jock away.
Mm.
We have the return of Donna. Miss Susan Howard returns to Dallas in this episode. Ray goes looking for Donna. She finds her. He says he's sorry that Sam died, and they pretty much basically pick up where they left off.
Yeah.
Liz comes by. That's the store lady.
Pam,
Pam
yeah.
Pam says she's swamped. JR mentions Bobby coming back to Ewing. He wants. Oh no, JR mentions Bobby or mentions to Jock that he wants Bobby to come back. Sorry, I didn't know how to put it, and I wrote it really weird. And he wants to tell Bobby. So he wants Jock to tell Bobby.
Yeah, so basically, JR sets up a thing where he worries about Miss Ellie, Miss Ellie's health, and yada yada yada. And so he sort of suggests to Jock that maybe Bobby should come back to the office. It's just a way so he's not constantly watched because he thinks that he can handle Bobby.
Yeah, he's a tool. Bobby goes to Pam's office with flowers, trying to make amends, but it goes kind of wrong. She's like, I can't leave. He's like, I want to go to a movie, dinner, anything you want. She's like, tomorrow. He's like, no, tonight. And he kind of gets mad and storms out.
Yeah.
Um, Jack and Ellie talk to the family. Oh wait, talk about the family being together. I thought that was a really nice moment. I feel like they kind of bonded back together, kind of. Just talking about everybody and what everybody's going through, basically.
Yeah.
They needed some time, I guess. They really should have showed them like go away together or something. That would have been cute, but they don't do that. They're
Yeah.
Ewings, I guess. We see Ray and Donna at the bar. Bobby comes to hang out, and Bobby wants to actually tell Ray that he's leaving the
Mm.
ranch to him and the other fellas, I guess, but he doesn't
Yeah.
because I guess because Ray's happy to have Donna back and didn't want to ruin his night, I guess.
All deliveries go around the back.
Well, I'm not delivering anything, ma'am. I just want to know if Mrs. Culver's here.
Would you be really careful with this, please? It's really special to my husband.
Mrs. Culver? This gentleman wanted to see you.
Hello?
You look beautiful.
So do you.
Sorry about Sam's death.
Yeah, I know.
Which I don't think that would really ruin his night. And how come Bobby can't do both? Like, is ranching 40 hours a week? Like, I don't, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I've never done ranching before.
I know. Like, I'm like you can and play like you're working for the family company, so you can go to the office for 4 hours, go home and
Yeah,
ranch for a couple hours.
but like you see, when you see Bobby actually fully getting into Ewing oil, he's there all the time and yada yada yada. So it's probably just about a balance. Like if he's going to be in the office, he's going to have to stay in the office essentially.
Yeah. JR talks to Pam. JR is being a douche. Finds out that Pam knows about Cliff possibly being the baby daddy. Well,
Yeah.
everybody is pretty positive that he's the baby daddy at this point. I
Mm.
forget when this changes. Um, I really can't remember. Pam looks worried when JR storms off because she knows she did something stupid. She goes right to Bobby and she tells him, I fucked
Mm.
up. I told JR something and now I'm going to be screwed because he's going to
Yeah.
use it to his advantage in some way.
Is any way you can.
So what he does, she basically tells Bobby that she doesn't want to have a baby. He suggests adopting and she's like, listen, I just need time. I need 5 minutes.
Yeah.
JR talks to, oh yeah, JR goes in and talks to Sue Ellen while she's sleeping. He's
Oh
like, you
yeah.
tramp.
Yeah.
You tramp.
Yeah. He's like drunk as, and he just thinks you're
Drunk as
such
a
a
skunk.
tramp, Ellen.
He's a piece of work, man.
Yeah. She's like,
Um,
"What's happening?"
the sheriff comes by about the bones that were
Mm.
found.
Yeah, he's just
Um,
asking general questions about whether or not they knew anybody working around the time that kind of like just disappeared, like because they had a lot of day workers apparently at around the time that they were talking about, which was like 30 years plus around about.
yeah. And I like what Bobby says to JR. He's like, did you kill someone when you were a kid, JR?
Not tell anybody.
And JR is not amused.
No.
I would have given it to him at that point. That was really funny.
Yeah.
Bobby tells Jock about adopting, like possibly adopting. And I always like Bobby and Jock talking. I always felt like they had really good conversations.
They
But,
were more on level with each other.
huh?
I always found that Bobby and Jock they were kind of similar men. Like they were more on level with each other than say JR and Jock were, and definitely
Right.
Jock and
But
Gary.
it, but it
Bobby.
gets on my nerves. Like, Jock gets on my nerves because, like, this conversation. So he's basically like, we might adopt a baby, whatever. And he's like, "Oh, just give it time. Pam just needs some time, and you can make a real Ewing." Like,
Sadly,
clearly,
that's what people
Jock
are
just
like,
doesn't
though,
get it.
man. Yeah, no, but a lot of people are like that, man. Like, you know, it's
Like, I
like,
feel like Miss Ellie would have been like, "Yeah, that's a great idea," because if Pam's
well,
having issues,
well, as we find out later, things like that are sort of, they're not as hardcore about it as they are. But like, I think a lot of people, I think that's a thing that you sort of see, you do generally see. Like, nobody really has anything against adoption, but everybody always pictures it being their biological child until it's not. And then when it's
yeah,
not, it doesn't matter, as, obviously as things play out in Dallas. But I think that's like weirdly kind of a thing. Like, I don't think a lot of people are like
yeah,
that, but I do
especially
think a lot
back
of people
then.
are. Yeah, definitely back then. But you still kind of, you know, hear it now to a degree, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
So JR meets up with a Harrison Page, who is. Did you recognize him?
no.
All right, you need to rewatch Falcon Crest. Stat.
Who?
It's Mel Ferrer from Falcon Crest.
Ah, yeah,
Philip.
Mel Ferreira. Yeah, I just did not recognize the name at all. I know I remembered him from Falcon Crest.
Okay, so you did remember him from Falcon Crest.
Yeah. I just
All
didn't
right.
I just didn't remember his name at all in Dallas. I was just like, oh,
Uh,
he's from Falcon Crest.
okay. Well, yeah. So, and this was like I think a year before. I forget if Falcon Crest started in 80 or 81. I feel like it was
81.
80. Was it
81.
81? All right. I don't know why I can't get that. Um, I
There
really
was a quite a
can't.
few of them around that era. Like in those
Yeah,
like between
Dynasty
like
was early 81. Yeah.
yeah, like between like about 1980 and like 1984, you had a whole bunch starting. So like,
Falcon Crest is still my favorite just because I like the character development a lot more. And I think the characters are more likable. And
I think it's
I don't know.
I think it's campier, and it's sort of like in a little way is like this weird prototype thing of like what you have in a lot of those mystery sort of horror soaps of today's day, like Riverdale, the Pretty Little Liars stuff, and all that.
Yeah.
Like just about every season of Falcon Crest, there was a murder mystery or like some conspiracy going on.
Yeah,
Like
there's
they,
always something to keep you interested.
yeah, it's. I always found that it's like the campier one.
But
But
I
people
almost
say
feel
that
like, well, no, I felt like the first 5 seasons, or maybe even 6, were not as campy because, like, then
season
once,
4 has
like,
Nazi treasure in it, man.
what's that?
Doesn't season 4 have like Nazi art paintings or something like that in it as well? Like they did
How's
the
that
dynasty
camping?
thing?
That's true stuff. That stuff happened. Anyway, we're getting off track. So,
Yeah.
Harrison Page comes. This is Mel Ferrer from Falcon Crest, who plays Philip.
Yeah.
Um, he mentions bringing him in on the Southeast Asia deal. He mentions Pam. I guess it's like this rich guy that just owns a lot of things because he owns the store
Yeah.
apparently.
Well, I just look at the story of the
Mentions
chain.
how Pam is good at her job and she's been working a lot and she could help with the other stores somewhere else. I think he wants Pam to get like another location. I think he's trying to get rid of her that way, but it doesn't work out exactly like that.
No, he sort of mentions
Yet.
about Penn not having any yeah, yeah. It's like all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So Ellen and JR talk about Dr. Elby. That was a funny one too. I like that. Pam gets home, they fight, she brings up divorce. She is basically hiding from anything having to do with a baby. She doesn't want to hear Bobby mention a baby. She doesn't want to, like, she's over this baby shit.
Yeah.
And JR is watching from the distance, so he sees that they're already having issues, so won't take much, to get into it. The next scene we have Donna and Ray in bed. He mentions marriage to her. She says it's a little too soon. She doesn't want to do it because of Sam's memory. Sam just recently died, and she doesn't want it to look like she was like just like a woman that was just trying to get rich quick and all that stuff. And I think that's really sweet. I really like that.
Yeah.
And he basically says like, "Well, I'm getting a housemaid, and you know, can you make up your mind basically by the time the house is done? And she's like, you got a deal. Because it'll probably take like 6 months for the house to get done. I guess that's a
Yeah,
reasonable amount of time.
yeah.
Um, Liz
I
comes
mean,
to
everybody gets
Pam.
married in this show far too quickly for my liking, but like, yeah, it's a reasonable
Liz,
amount of time.
Liz comes to Pam, says she is being transferred to Houston, and Pam's promoted in her spot. She's totally shocked. Pam was like,
Mm.
she's like, I
Like,
like working, but I don't want to be the manager,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. And Liz thinks that it was like a
And
scam to like get the top position essentially.
so yeah, Liz basically says, well, you're guaranteed, that'll be guaranteed to break up any marriage doing this
Hmm.
job. Um, Bob, Bobby is going back to work at Ewing. Pam gets home. Uh, they put, she will tell him tomorrow. What?
So she's talking to Bobby, and she said that she'd just tell the boss whether or not she'd take the job the next day, and like basically
Oh,
Bobby
right.
just cuts her off and gets up her for even considering it. And I think I was like thinking to myself, she still looks like she's surprised that she even got the job. Like, leave her alone. Like, he does jump
I
down to stuff
know.
like immediately there.
He does. He really does. And he shouldn't have. Like, he could have just been like, you know what, take the night and think about
Mm.
it. But he's like,
Yeah.
just take the job. You don't even have to think about it. Me.
If you have to think about it, then you obviously should just take it. Oh, well, that's obviously sound logic, Mr. Ewing. Like,
Oh, and he says they might as well just be divorced if you take the job. Whatever.
yeah, he got mad,
That's
but you
all
know,
I got for this.
to be fair, she threw that petty divorce remark at him earlier when she got mad.
She
So I kind of,
did,
yeah,
but
and he said the
you
same
know,
thing. You know, he doesn't mean it.
yeah, I don't know. This is just Bobby and Pam frustrate me so.
Yeah, but yes, no, that is that was the end of the episode, wasn't it? Like where she's just
Hmm.
kind of yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Got anything else to add to these?
No,
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today at Queers and Soaps. Subscribe, like, and comment. Did you watch Dallas? Who'd you like on Dallas? Tell us some things.
do you think
Give us
that
some info. Do you
Nancy
like
Treasure?
my Sue Ellen t-shirt?
Yeah, do you think
You can get
Nancy
it on
Treasure?
redbubble.com. What's that?
Right? Do you think that Nancy Treasure storylines are camp storylines
That's
or not?
Falcon Crest!
It
And you
doesn't
can
matter.
see
That also
Falcon
happened
Crest.
in Dynasty. That was also in Dynasty. Like,
And you can see Falcon Crest podcast and Dynasty podcast on our other
yeah,
podcasts. Look them up. All
yeah.
right.
It's all there,
Have a good,
guys.
till next time. Bye.
Bye.